So when we're streaming, there's no actual mute button inside here.
We're live.
It's too
Oh, okay. Okay.
Are we good?
Yep.
Okay, great. So we have everybody here, it looks like. So looks like we have Eric here on the line, our chair. So Eric, when you're ready, let's go ahead and jump into the agenda.
roll call.
Commissioner Albright, Commissioner Beckler,
Here.
Commissioner Switzenbank,
Here.
Commissioner Wiedemann,
Here.
Chair Crane.
Present.
Thank you.
Determination of legal notice.
Legal notice has been determined.
Matters from the public. The Airport Land Use Commission welcomes participation in commission meetings. This item is limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the commission that are not on the posted agenda and items which have not already been considered by the commission. No action will be taken. Any matters from the public?
We have no matters from the public today.
On to item 4, Ukiah Municipal Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan.
All right, thank you, Chair Crane, and we're excited to bring this forward. I know that the commission is familiar with this project as we've had several different meetings bringing this to the commission for direction. We do have on the line today representatives of Mead Hunt, both Miranda Thompson and Ken Brody, as well as representatives from the City of Ukiah, Craig Schlatter, Jesse Davis, and the airport manager, Greg Owen. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this presentation over to Miranda. And Miranda, when you're ready, please go ahead and begin your presentation. And don't forget to state your name for the record.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. We do have a PowerPoint presentation. And Jesse, did you want to start the introduction, or would you like me to jump into the presentation?
Thank you, Miranda. Jesse Davis, Planning Manager, City of Ukiah. Please just start the presentation. Thank you.
Can everyone hear me? Yes, okay, great. And can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, okay, thank you. I had to find the right buttons here. Well, thank you very much for having me. Again, Miranda Thompson with Mead Hunt. I am the project manager for the Ukiah Municipal Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan Update, which I'll refer to often as the project. And with me tonight is Ken Brody, Senior Planner with Mead Hunt, who has been assisting on this project from the start. So the purpose of today's presentation is to bring forward the revised airport land use compatibility plan. And as a point of reference, is going back, Julia mentioned that we've met several times with the commission, and we released the draft plan for public review in July 2000. Then we held a meeting in July 2020, and then we held a ALUC meeting in November 2020. And the purpose of that meeting was to discuss a comment that was raised during the public review period about the desire for CAL FIRE to operate C-130 aircraft at the airport. And to do so requires a 5,000 foot long runway. And based on the direction received from the commission at that meeting, we went back to the compatibility plan and identified the appropriate revisions to the plan to accommodate that future proposal. We also went back and revised the initial study to evaluate the potential impact of that proposal. And we'll go through that tonight. And the purpose of this meeting is really to provide you an overview of the draft plan that's in front of you tonight for consideration to adopt the plan and accept the CEQA document and negative declaration. So we'll start off with just a brief overview of the project. We'll go into the details of the draft compatibility plan, then move into the CEQA findings, and then finally end with the staff recommendations. To start off, and this is really for the benefit of the audience, to describe the ALUC's role and responsibilities as provided under state law. Now, the principal role of the ALUC is to protect public health, safety, and welfare by promoting the orderly development of airports and to minimize airport land use compatibility conflicts between airport operations and the land uses that may be within vicinity of the airport. And the primary way airport land use commissions accomplish this goal is to prepare airport land use compatibility plans. And there is an existing plan in place today, which was adopted in 1993. And the purpose of this project is to update the component related to the Ukiah Municipal Airport.
I'm sorry, adopted in 93 or adopted in 96?
Good clarification, thank you, Chairman. So the plan, the countywide plan was adopted in 1993, but in 1996, the Ukiah Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan was included in the countywide plan.
Thank you.
Now, in terms of ALUC limitations, there is no, ALUCs do not have authority over airport operations, which means they cannot dictate whether an airport includes a runway extensions or shortens their runways. It can't dictate where aircraft fly in and out of the airport. From the land use standpoint, the Airport Land Use Commission also has no authority over existing land uses, even if those land uses are considered incompatible with airport operations. So if there's a school right off of the end of the runway, which is not the scenario here for this airport, but it is the scenario for some airports, that land use is would be considered non-conforming, but the ALUC has no authority to make a change to that particular land use. The ALUC also has no authority over federal, state, and tribal lands. And the last limitation is that they have no direct ability to implement land use measures. And that's why it's very important as part of these airport land use compatibility plan updates or projects to involve the local jurisdictions, because ultimately it is their land use planning departments that will be implementing the compatibility criteria adopted by the airport land use commissions. So let's get to the specifics of this project. As I mentioned, the countywide plan was initially adopted in 1993, and then in 96, the compatibility plan specifically for the Ukiah Municipal Airport was included in the countywide plan. But since then, several changes have occurred. The first one is really the handbook, which was published by Caltrans Division of Aeronautics. This handbook is intended to help guide the development of airport compatibility plans prepared by commissions such as yourself. Also, the airport, the city-owned airport, updated its airport layout plan in 2016. So since 1996, when the Ukiah plan was adopted by the commission, several changes have occurred. And the purpose of this update is to reflect the new statewide guidance and to reflect operations and development plans for the Ukiah Municipal Airport as shown in the airport layout plan. Now, our approach to the project was to be guided by the state handbook, to reflect the airport operations as shown in the 2016 ALP, and to be steered by a technical advisory group, which its membership was made up of members from the Airport Land Use Commission, as well as planning and airport staff from the county and city. The city of Ukiah and the county of Mendocino both have land use jurisdiction that's within vicinity of this airport. Our project started in February 2019. We held a kickoff meeting with the commission to discuss the goals of this project and had subsequent meetings with the technical advisory group to provide data as the basis of the compatibility plan update, as well as to get policy guidance for this project. Then, as I mentioned, we had a public draft made available for review by the community. That was a 30-day public review period that occurred in July. Then, based on comments received during that public review period, we met with the commission in November and discussed the option of adding a zone 1 asterisk to protect for a 5,000 foot long runway and ultimately CAL FIRE C-130 operations at some future date. So in early 2021, we've revised the draft plan and CEQA document, and those materials are made available for review by the public and this commission, and is the focus of this meeting. So looking closer at the revised draft airport land use compatibility plan, one thing that's very important to understand is that the 1996 plan for this airport is included in the county-wide plan. Those elements will be removed if the commission adopts this plan tonight. The 96 plan will be removed from the county-wide plan, and this new plan will be in place for the Ukiah Municipal Airport. And it looks very different from what's in place today. There's more information and policies to help guide the evaluation of compatibility of land use proposals within vicinity of this airport. So we have policies that address the procedures, what types of projects need to come before the ALUC, what is the time frame, and how are the compatibility evaluations going to be conducted. We also have compatibility policies and criteria that define the types of land uses that are considered compatible, conditionally compatible, or incompatible with each one of the zones established for this airport. Then we have a chapter devoted to the background information that is used as the basis for the compatibility zones and the policies, associated policies. We also have a set of appendices to provide additional background information for the users of this plan. In terms of the compatibility zones, I mentioned that they look different in many ways from what's in place today. The image on the right gives you a high-level overview of the compatibility zones. We essentially have 6 compatibility zones, and each one reflects the safety zones provided from the handbook. And the current nomenclature found in the county-wide plan is, for example, zones A, B1, B2, etc. And those zones reflect a composite of all 4 compatibility factors, meaning that each of the zones address noise, safety, airspace, and overflight concerns. Our zones that you see here use a nomenclature of 1 through 6, which is consistent with what you can be found in the handbook. And that is, we made that change for the transparency and clarity of referring to this plan versus someone looking at the handbook, they can see how these zones correlate with the handbook safety zones. Even though we are using the handbook safety zones, it's important for us to let you know that these zones also consider the other 4 compatibility factors in the way we looked at the compatibility criteria and established the draft criteria for each of these zones. So these zones reflect noise, safety, airspace, and overflight. Now, something else that you'll notice on the screen on the right side, the image on the right side, is that the traffic pattern for the airport is on the east side of the runway. And for that reason, you'll notice that zone 6 is truncated on the west side. And the reason for that is there's high terrain on the west side of the airport, which really is pushing traffic to operate on the east side. And for that reason, we felt there was no need to provide, establish a zone with land use criteria when aircraft are really not operating on the west side of the airport on a regular basis. So that is one distinct change that you'll notice. What came out of the public review period and to address the comment and request for accommodating CAL FIRE aircraft, C-130 CAL FIRE aircraft in the future at this airport, we added what we're calling Zone 1 asterisks. And essentially what that's looking at is the runway protection zones that would be associated with a 5,000-foot long runway. And it extends further north and encompasses, further north and further south to encompass the runway protection zones. And so that is noted here as Zone 1 asterisks, both north and south. In terms of the criteria, again, the criteria looks very different from what's in place today in the 1996 plan for the Ukiah Municipal Airport. Here, with guidance from the Technical Advisory Committee and input from the Commission to date, we've prepared what we call a land use matrix, where the compatibility criteria are provided at the top of the table. So it talks about or sets limits on the intensity of uses, so the number of people per acre, and very restrictive within the high risk zone, Zone 1. And as the risks reduce, so do the restrictions. So you have higher intensities allowed the further you move away from the airport. Likewise, for residential development, we have densities that are very restrictive right off the end of the runway. No residential uses essentially in Zone 1. But as you move away, further away from the runway, the restrictions lessen to the point where there's no limits on residential uses within Zone 6. Now, to account for the existing land use patterns in place today, we've made an exception essentially for, and what we're calling it is an urban overlay zone, which reflects the existing land use patterns on the north side of the airport. And there's also an exception southwest of the runway within the unincorporated area of the county. And this land use table then provides different types of land use types. Outdoor assembly, you'll see schools, residential uses, commercial, retail, and it breaks it down by land use type and provides an initial land use compatibility evaluation. So anything that's flagged in red is typically considered incompatible unless there's some specific nuances of a project that warrant a closer look. Yellow indicates that it's conditionally compatible. And when you see a yellow, there's going to be a note associated with that says, okay, within Zone 4, if it's an outdoor large assembly facility, ensure that intensity criteria are met and exercise caution if this is a use that's might be noise sensitive, like an outdoor amphitheater. So those, and then for those uses that are typically compatible, you'll see it in green. So this land use matrix provides a lot more detail than what's in place today to help the users of this plan understand what types of land uses may be considered compatible or incompatible. Now, in terms of our CEQA findings, what we did is we took several steps. The first one is to simply compare the draft compatibility zones with what's in place today and identify the areas that would be more restrictive or less restrictive. And that allowed us to focus our analysis on the areas where there would be greater restrictions. Then what we looked at is the general plan land use designations for the city and the county, as well as the zoning ordinances and the housing elements for each of these local agencies, because each agency has to accommodate a certain number of housing. And we recognize that as part of developing a compatibility plan. Now, ultimately, the goal is to push residential development away from the ends of the runway. And the analysis for the CEQA documentation effort focused on if this plan would be more restrictive than what's in place today, what would be the impact or displacement of those uses? And we quantified those displacement efforts for residential uses and then discussed it in a qualitative manner for non-residential uses. Try to advance here. Then, as part of this revised initial study, we took a closer look at the parcels that would be affected by the new addition of Zone 1 asterisk to the north, and we'll look at Zone 1 on the south side as well. But essentially, most of these parcels to the north are already developed. And the areas, but we also wanted to consider redevelopment opportunities for these sites and determine if there's any displacement impacts. Several parcels, for example, in the areas of parcels 1, 2, and 3, as I mentioned, most zones 1 and 2 are already developed. They could potentially be redeveloped, but this zone here, let me just say that under the current plan, would bring forward the criteria that's in place today under the 1996 plan. So, but the area that would be affected is much smaller because under the current plan, Zone A asterisk encompasses a much larger area around what you see as Zone 1 here. So we bring forward the compatibility criteria under the 1996 plan, but it affects a smaller area just within the Zone 1 asterisk. And so there is still some development potential of these parcels on the north side. On the south side, most of the areas actually within is controlled by the airport, but there are 2 parcels that would be affected by the Zone 1 asterisk criteria. One is an existing development, and so there's really not much more they can do with their particular site. And then this one is a vacant site, but part of a larger farm or agricultural use, and there's a residence further south. And based on the small footprint of the Zone 1 asterisk, there's still development potential for this particular site or parcel. So in looking at these areas, what we find is that, yes, there will be a change to the compatibility plan, but that the plan itself and looking at any potential impacts to the underlying land uses, there is not a significant effect on either the environment or the underlying land uses. And that the city and the county can still meet their regional housing needs. They may be limited right off of the end of the runway within Zones 1, Zone 1 asterisk, as well as Zone 2, but there are accommodations like the urban overlay within zones 3 and 4 that enable the two local jurisdictions to accommodate their housing needs within the airport influence area as well as outside of the airport influence area. So for those reasons, the determination was a less than significant impact. So with that, the recommendation of staff is to adopt for the commission to adopt the to accept the revised CEQA negative declaration and initial study, and to adopt the revised airport land use compatibility plan for the Ukiah Municipal Airport. With that, I will turn it back to staff. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Miranda. And whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and stop sharing screen. And I think, I don't have any particular comments from the county perspective, but of course we are here and available to answer any questions of the commission. And I will just note too that there is a resolution within the packet that was prepared for this item. That would be the document showing the formal adoption if the commission chooses to move that direction. And we do have several public commenters as well that have requested to speak on today's item whenever you are ready to hear those comments.
Please proceed.
Okay, great. So we have our other staff on the other side here. Hopefully Angie is set to go here. We do have 2 different telecommenters that are on the line, and we may have more at this point. The first speaker that we had signed up was Sage San Giacomo. And so Angie, if we can go ahead and perfect. I see you're already doing that. And bring Sage over to speak. And Sage, when you are ready, please just go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name for the record.
And Deputy County Counsel was quickly to open the public hearing. Was this noticed as a public hearing, Julia?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm assuming you could hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. I want to first just begin by thanking the commission, staff at both the county and the city, Mead Hunt, and all the stakeholders that participated in this process. I know that it's been a long and detailed process, but as you can see from the presentation, the work that has been done has been substantial. The current plan has been significantly updated to meet the today's criteria, which protects the health and safety and welfare, of course, of the public and the orderly development of the airport. We're particularly pleased with the extra work and due diligence of the commission and guidance to explore the protection of the future development of the runway and operations. And then, of course, minimizing, the conflicts or any conflicts that might arise between development in and around the airport with airport operations. And this plan does all 3 of those primary purposes of the work that is supposed to be accomplished. Furthermore, the plan is much clearer than ever than before. Creating the compatibility tables and the detail that's within these tables makes it very clear to just about anybody that picks up the plan as to what can and can't be done within the areas in and around the airport. And it's for with all of this work and that we really appreciate everybody's time and effort in the process and urge the commission to take action and pass the plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This is Angie Lane. And our next speaker is Devin Jones. Can you please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon. This is Devin Jones, Executive Director of the Mendocino County Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau has been following this plan development over the last several years for a few reasons. One, we are an adjoining property owner to the north. And second of all, We have been involved with one of our neighbors in moving forward their project as a critical contributor to our local agricultural economy, and that would be Garten Tractor. So for those two reasons, we encourage the ALUC today to really truly move this process forward. We understand the importance of preserving the functionality of the airport. We understand the importance of working with CAL FIRE for continuing to have those resources available for the wildfire needs in this county, but the local businesses also need to be able to move forward with planning as much as they possibly can. So for those reasons, I would encourage the ALUC today to move forward with this plan. And one last comment for consideration, there are 2 vacancies remaining on the ALUC. Those are both county appointments. So I would encourage, the county officials who may be participating in this call today to work with the Planning Commission to fill those vacancies on the ALUC. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments we have.
Thank you, Angie. So we'll turn it back over to you, Chair Crane.
Any questions from the commission? Discussion? Hearing none.
Oh, I think you have, I think I saw Diana trying to comment there.
Diana.
Hi. I just want to say I appreciate the extra work that was put into the revisions after the last few meetings some months prior. And I think they did. I just also want to concur that I think the both the city and the consultants have done a good job on, I think, responding to some of our board's concern. And thank you.
Make sure he closes the public comment.
Any other comments or questions from the commission or staff?
Mr. Chair, Nash Gonzalez, Interim Plan Building Services Director. I just want to go ahead and say that this was a joint effort between the city and the county, and I think we were able to come together and put a good document forward, a good environmental review, and this is why the commission has what they've got today. And so I'd just like to thank our partner, the city, for all their help.
And if I may, through the chair, Jesse Davis.
Please proceed.
Jesse Davis, Planning Manager, City of Ukiah. I would just echo Director Gonzalez's statements with regards to the cooperation that was engendered to facilitate this process. And I think that from the city's perspective, we look forward to working with this plan and the clarity that it will provide, not only for us as staff, but also for our business and residential communities as they proceed with their own proposals for development or activity. So we very much look forward to working with a document such as this, in part because it offers clarity not only with regards to the definitions, but also with regards to Table 3A, and provides a very clear visual that will help to inform staff and the general public moving forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other public or comments from staff or the commission? I heard rumor that there was some language for adoption.
There is a recommendation, I believe. Let me just look. Sorry.
I think it's attachment 1.
Yeah, there's the resolution is attachment 1 to the item. And really, if the commission chooses to adopt this item, it would be, making the motion would essentially include adopting a negative declaration and the Ukiah Municipal Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan, subject to the resolution.
Okay.
And just for procedurally, Chair Crane, if you could note closure of the public hearing.
Hang on a second. Closure of what?
Of the public hearing.
Does that require a motion?
No, not at all. Just you noting as chair that the public hearing is closed after we heard the public comment.
We'll note that the public hearing is closed.
Thank you.
And then Diana?
I move that we adopt resolution, it doesn't have, I'm looking for a number, but May 2021 to 2021, the revised airport land use, how do I want to say, the revised, I adopt a negative deck and the Ukiah Municipal Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan as written on attachment 1 of the.
Here.
I second.
Mr. Kudrowski, does that work for you?
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski. I'll note that the last sentence of the county staff memo, there's a recommendation that the ALUC by resolution adopt the negative declaration in the UKI ALUCP and associated addendum based upon the findings contained within the resolution. I think that's what Commissioner Wiedemann was trying to say, and that may simplify it.
Thank you. We have high winds, so I'm cutting out. Keep cutting out.
Vice Chair Beckler, your motion stand on that?
Yes.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the question, roll call.
Commissioner Beckler,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiedemann,
Yes.
Commissioner Swittenbank,
Yes.
Chair Crane.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-0.
All right.
Thank you for all that work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
I very much appreciate the amount of time that was taken initially, and also very much appreciate the additional time and care that was taken to make that last minute modification. I think is going to be very important to the future of the airport.
Mr. Chairman, this is Ken Brody with Mead Hunt. If I can offer just a quick comment on behalf of both Miranda and myself, that we've enjoyed working with this commission. It's been a challenge in a variety of ways, but most ALUC plans are. So in that sense, it's not been any different. And glad that we've come to a successful outcome, and have enjoyed working with you and with Craig Slatter and Greg Owen with the city. Just wanted to mention that in terms of the ultimate document, we will fold the addendum changes into a complete document over the next few weeks, and that'll be what will be available for posting on your website. So you won't have two separate pieces. It'll all be combined. So I just wanted to make that clear that that's one remaining task we have to complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on that item, or are we ready to move on? Matters from staff.
We have no matters from staff.
Matters from the commission.
None.
On the topic of recruitment, if we are, as I understand it, 2 seats down, are there efforts, and where are those efforts in terms of refilling those seats? Do we have any update on that?
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski. We are working on that. That issue has a little something to do with the recent changes to the makeup of the Planning Commission, and so members being appointed to multiple boards. So we'll be working on that and moving forward to discuss that with the Planning Commission in the future.
Okay. Anything else from the commission? Seeing nothing. Approval of minutes. November 19th, 2020. Do we have a motion for approval or any notes?
I make the motion that we approve the minutes from the 2020 meeting. November.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any comment, discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Commissioner Switzenbank,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckler,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiedemann,
Yes,
Chair Crane.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Do you hear a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition. Thank you very much.
Hey,
Thank you,
thank you,
Chair.
commissioners.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
thank you.
Thank you all.
And now you for the stream.